All right, so we're out here doing the regular routine. Got Mama's car cleaned up and we're down to drying it. But we've got another problem we got to get to. It's got a tire that keeps leaking down. So, as soon as we get her dried up, we're going to get right into it. I don't know if you remember or not, but back a few episodes, we did a thing and talked about the TPMS system and tires and all that. And I said that if this tire kept going down, I would have to pull it and check it. This point is to bring the tire up to the proper pressure and monitor it for over the next week or two and see if it goes down again. So that's what we're going to do. Since that time, I have probably aired this tire up 3 more times. It never seems to go below 26, 27 pounds, somewhere in there, and it kind of stays right there. But for whatever reason, it goes down from, I'll air it up to like 36 pounds, and it'll drop down about 10 pounds and then settle out. So today, we're going to pull this tire off. We're going to see if we can find out why it keeps going down. All right, well, I'm going to use the hydraulic jack, and I'm going to get up underneath here on the control arm. It's a good solid piece. It's steel. And you can also use your factory jack right along the side of the vehicle. And there's a couple of notches. You can just pick the vehicle up and get your tire off. All right. All right. We want to make sure that the vehicle is secure, that you know the park brake's set, and that the vehicle is in park and I am on level surface. So once you've got those two established, then it is safe to lift the vehicle off the ground. And if you have wheel chocks, it'd be a good idea to go up and chock a wheel to keep it, to make sure it's not going to roll. But I don't have any fear that it's going to roll today. So we're going to lift it on up and get it off the ground. And I'm going to go and get in here and get this tire off. I have battery powered impact. You may have air. You may have to use hand tools. But your lug nuts are 21 millimeter, not 13/16, not anything. They're 21 millimeter. If you use anything else, you will damage them and it will become difficult to get a socket on and off of the lug. And sometimes even with a 21 millimeter, they can get difficult. Just drop it on the ground, it'll come out. All right, vehicle supported on nothing but a jack. Do not get under this vehicle, ever. All right, let's get set up and we'll talk about what we're gonna do to try to find this very, very small leak. All right, so first thing you're going to do is you're going to have your tire position, put the valve stem all the way up or all the way down or somewhere where you know where it is. That way you can have a reference point to when you have made a full turn on this tire. I start with it all the way up, and I use a bottle of something like you can mix up some soapy water, a little bit of Dawn, a little bit of water in an empty bottle. And you can have soapy water, or you can take, like I'm using here, some Windex. You just need something that'll bubble when it detects a leak. I aired this tire up the other day, and that is going to be the other thing that you need to do is make sure that you have aired the tire up to its correct inflation pressure. Now, starting long, even with the valve stem, begin spraying the tire. And you're going to be watching as you gently roll the tire around. You'll be looking for bubbles. You're going to be looking for stuff in the tread. What do we have there? Something stuck in the tread of the tire. I can't tell if that's a rock or if that is something that is actually in the tread. So we need to get a small screwdriver, something we can probe with. Okay, so now that we found something to probe with, flicked it out, it turns out it's nothing but a rock. No problem. But you want something like a screwdriver that you can probe with if you find something in your tread. And continue spraying. Go slow. And there it is. Right there. See those bubbles? Found it. Now, I'm going to gently see if we can determine what it is. And so as I figured, it's very, very small. And it's actually bubbling here and here. It looks like it could be something like a some kind of a staple, and there could be two of them. Could have run over a staple, and it's a hole here and a hole right here. So see if we can get a reference point as to where it is. It is directly opposite of the valve stem. So we'll know when we go to repair it exactly where it is. Not going to be able to do anything much about it today, but what is needed to be done here is this tire needs to be broken down and a patch needs to be placed over this area from the inside, and check to see if there's any debris in there. Well, yeah, I can see it now. Get some of the bubbles out of the way. It's a little bitty tiny, looks like a staple. So this one here, you can't tell if there's anything in it. Feels like there could be, but you break it down, you should be able to see it sticking out the other side and be able to patch that one spot. And keep running this tire for a while. I figure by sometime this summer I will have to put tires on this vehicle. Currently these tires have 37,000 miles and have been doing excellent. These are the tires that came on it. You know, the Bridgestone Alenza, and so far I've not had any issue with them. Change of plan. Let's go ahead and let's fix it today. This hole is so small, it is such a tiny little spot that we're going to merely buff the area and patch it from the inside. Now, we're going to talk about the buffing. There's a couple different ways you can do it. They use a 80 grit wheel, which is that right there, or a wire brush. On these passenger car tires, wire brush does a good job. On the heavier duty truck tires, you need a larger 80 grit wheel. There it is. You buff up the area and rough up the area to get the patch something to stick to. When you have to clean off your buffed area, a rubber scraper tool, because when you buff the tire it releases some of the petroleum that's in the tire is made of. When you make fine rubber grit, as you can see right there, and the patch doesn't want to stick to that. So you want to clean your patch area really well. Now, take your patch, and try to touch the surface of the patch as little as possible. You don't want to try not to touch the surface, because you don't want any oil from your skin getting on it, because it can compromise it sticking to the tire. So take you a little bit of the contact cement and go ahead and wet up the patch and set it to the side and allow it to dry. You want it to tack up. And now we're going to do the same thing to the area we buffed. A light coat of contact cement and allow it to dry. Alright, you can see that the contact cement has tacked up. You can see the sheen that it has on it. It is no longer wet, but it is kind of called a satin finish. And just very carefully hold it by the edges. Find your spot in your tire where your hole was and lay your patch over it. And now you lay it in place with a stitching tool. You stitch the patch down to the tire. You can go over it in about 3 different directions. And keep going until that plastic cover comes off the top of it. Starting to peel up. There it is. Nothing to it. Now, to complete your patch, you want to use a product called, it's a black Jalopy liner sealer. And you go around the edge of the patch. And when the tire, if it goes through a heat cycle, this will fully cure and bond the edges of that patch to the tire, and it'll be as good as new. Let that set up a minute and then we'll get her remounted. One final check to see if we're done. You go back over the area where we just did the patch. Make sure it's not bubbling anymore. And no more bubbles. Okay. Tire's fixed, so now let's get her put back on. These are so deeply recessed, the lug nuts are so deeply recessed up in there that if you take and put them on your socket, you can get them started by hand. And fail. These are lug piloted. Get it shoved up on there. You kind of have to hold it, the tire center. I have my foot chucked up under the tire just a little bit to kind of hold it centered and get it started. But the lug actually goes into the wheel to hold it in place. And you may have to move the wheel back and forth just a little bit to get it going. But you don't want to just put it on there and start jamming it up with an impact. Get them all going by hand. And if you have 2 in it, it should keep it from wallowing around so much. And you can just get them all going in by hand. I use an impact gun day in and day out, and I'm pretty good with it. I kind of know what I'm doing. But I don't expect everybody that's going to watch this video is. So what I'm going to tell you is go ahead and just give it a light bump. And you're going to go in a star pattern. Here, 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 and here. Now, what is recommended is a torque wrench. I have the professional tools because I do it for a living day in and day out. If you look in your owner's manual, it states 76 foot-pounds. And to properly torque these wheels on, you should go in 3 stages. We're going to start out at about 30 foot-pounds. Hit it click. Okay, now we're going to turn the torque wrench up to about 50. And do it again. And finally, final torque is 76 foot-pounds. That's what it says in the owner's manual. Go over them one more time. Now, you do not have to have an expensive click type torque wrench to do it. This is an older Craftsman I've had for a long time. You can go down to Harbor Freight and they sell what is known as a beam type torque wrench. They're about 20 bucks. They do the job. They just require that you actually look at the scale as the torque is going up. With a click type torque wrench, you heard it click each time it reached the proper torque and lets you know that you're there. Also recommended, after you've driven the vehicle for approximately 100 miles, it's a good idea to break out your torque wrench and give them another go after you've driven it about 100 miles, particularly with aluminum wheels. Now, alright, well, I hope this video has been helpful for you, and if you like this kind of video, I've got a lot of stuff like this on my channel, and if you subscribe, you can see when I put up a new video. And as a matter of fact, there ought to be one coming up on the screen right now.